Now, without a doubt, supportive gear can help you make more gains in the gym. But if you're the type of person that uses every possible piece of stretchy fabric to either one, ego lift, or two, use it as a band-aid to remedy the injuries that you have, then you gotta really reconsider why you're using all this stuff. So stay tuned, because today we're gonna be going over the how, the why, and the when you should be using supportive gear if you wanna make more gains in the gym. What's up, everyone? David here. Got a new video for y'all today. But before we get into it, if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit the bell notification so you can miss out any new videos. Because remember, new videos on this channel every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday, so don't miss out. Now, I wanted you to know that no matter where you go, it doesn't matter whether it is a commercial gym or a specialized type of gym, you could always spot out the power lifters. You know who the power lifters are? Go to any squat rack or any bench, and right in front of that area, that general vicinity, is gonna look like a yard sale. You wanna know why it looks like a yard sale? Because they're gonna have all their different pieces of fabrics, all their different types of shoes, the 5 or 6 belts they have. Everything's just gonna be laid out in front of it exactly the way it would be for a yard sale, because you already know how us power lifters are. Everything's got to be just right. We're actually weak with our normal body, but we're relying on all this to help us lift an extra 5 pounds. But all jokes aside though, power lifters are not the only ones that use supportive gear like this. It's any type of lifting style. Olympic weightlifters, strongmen, CrossFit, bodybuilding, powerlifting, any type of lifting can benefit from using these type of things. But many people probably don't even know what they are or why they should use it or when they should use it. So we're just gonna go over the general layout of everything, the how, the why, and the when. And then after this video, you should be able to make your own judgment on whether you feel like it will be good to include in your training or if you've just been using it for no reason at all up until this point. So we'll start from the floor and then make our way up. So our shoes, realistically, when it comes to lifting, I see 2 types of shoes. I either see some type of heeled shoe or some type of flat sole shoe. So for the flat sole shoe, usually the Converse, the Vans, or maybe specialized brands, they make some type of flat sole. Usually those are good for just, you know, staying stable on the ground. Most people will work out in running shoes, but I mean, running shoes are for running. It's in the name. Every different type of shoe is for a specific sport. We got basketball shoes, we got soccer cleats, we got running shoes. The sport that they are intended to be used for is in the name of that type of shoe itself. But for the gym, we kind of use just whatever we have. But in my opinion, if you're someone who's going to be working out, lifting weights, you should probably go with a flat sole shoe. This is going to come in handy for just all your general lifts. You know, anything where you're pulling the bar off the ground, whether that be, you know, some type of deadlift variation, or even anything where you're just gonna be standing flat on the ground, doing some curls. You just wanna be stable on the ground. The last thing you want is to be using some type of running shoe where there's so much cushion and, you know, you're bouncing off the ground. Again, running shoes are for running. If you're gonna be working out, you know, be secured on the ground. But along with that, we also got Olympic weightlifting shoe. All an Olympic weightlifting shoe is think of it like a flat sole shoe, but with a heel on it, and it is very stiff. These are not flexible. A running shoe is not like this. Although a running shoe does have a lot of cushion on the heel, you sink into it. It's like a cushion. You know, this is hard. This is a hard plastic right here. This will be really good for things like squats, things like Olympic weightlifting, hence why they're called Olympic weightlifting shoes. So like power cleans, hang cleans, any type of Olympic lift variation. What they do is it allows you to get deeper in a squat, especially if you're someone who has limited ankle mobilities. Take a test. Go down in a bodyweight squat, and after a certain point, if you go low enough and you start noticing your heel starts coming off the ground a bit, that could be an indication you got very limited ankle mobility. You got to stretch out your calves, but in the meantime, you can wear one of these. I will like to point out though, just because you have limited ankle mobility doesn't mean that you should only be relying on this. You should still be stretching out your calves in the first place to improve that mobility. This should not be the permanent fix, but it can help. I use it on my leg days when I'm doing my squats, my leg press, my hack squats, all those things, because it definitely will help you get more range of motion to build up those quads. I use it for my Olympic weightlifting, my snatches, my cleans, my jerks, all those good things, just because again, it helps me get lower to the ground, because when it comes to Olympic weightlifting, you do need to get in that low position. Now, continue to move on. This one realistically isn't something that is considered supportive gear, but I feel like many people, you know, they'll get some type of support from it, and that's gonna be a pair of long socks. Mainly the 2 things that you will be using this for is any type of deadlift variation or Olympic weightlifting, pretty much anything where you're picking the bar off the ground, because depending on what bar you have, the knurling on it, the grip, the textured part, could be pretty aggressive, and it's just gonna be scraping your shins. And you know, if you look at powerlifting, like some hardcore powerlifting gyms, you see everyone's shins are just all scraped up, so they put the long socks over it. Now, these go all the way up to my knee, and even when you use it, it doesn't make that big of a difference, realistically. It makes me think that my shins are more protected, but when you're pulling heavy weight against your shin, the bar's on there, it doesn't matter how much fabric you got in it, you're still gonna feel it at the end of the day, but at least now I won't get my blood all over the bar. I mean, gotta be some type of sanitary health standards we gotta upkeep here. So go ahead and get yourself a long pair of socks. Again, not the biggest game changer in the world, but at least for cleanliness, you get your dead skin, your scrapes, your blood off the bar for the next person to use. Now, continue to move on. We got sleeves, and I'm actually gonna pair up knee sleeves and elbow sleeves together because they essentially do the same thing. When it comes to this type of stuff, all it is nothing short of compression. All the supportive gear from here on out is realistically just thing that is supposed to fit snug against your joint. Now, for knee sleeves and elbow sleeves, they help you with things where the knee and the elbows are gonna be bending and extending a lot. So for the knee sleeves, realistically, any type of squat variation. So it could be just regular barbell squats, it could be some type of leg press, it could be some type of hack squat, or even Olympic weightlifting. You know, that deadlift position at the bottom, your knee is very bent. When you're catching an overhead squat in a snatch, all those things will come into play and your knee is gonna be going through a lot of bending. This will definitely give you some support. For the elbow sleeves, okay, what are some movements where your elbow's gonna be bending a lot and you gotta really force them to extend? It's gonna be things like bench pressing, whether it be on a flat bench or an incline or maybe even a shoulder press. It doesn't matter, you're always gonna be relying on these. So many people think that with these, it's gonna add extra weight to it's gonna help them lift a little bit more. That's not always the case. When it comes to knee sleeves and elbow sleeves, think of it as more for safety reasons and longevity. Because once you start lifting heavy enough, you know, there's no going around the fact that you're gonna be doing some wear and tear on your joints. Just, you know, bodybuilding or anyone who just lifts heavy and, you know, is very serious about their gym life, although it's healthy that you are working out, in the long term, if you really push yourself like high level athletes, there's gonna be some wear and tear on your joints. You know, your knees could only take so many 400, 500 pound squats in a lifetime. Same thing with your elbows. There's only so many 3-plate, 4-plate bench press attempts that you can take before your elbows give out. So at least this is more of like compression to keep you a little bit more stable to maybe add a couple more years in your lifting career. Now, depending on how tight the sleeves are, then yeah, maybe it can help you add a couple extra pounds to your squat or a couple extra pounds to your elbow sleeve. I know some power lifters, or maybe even some Olympic lifters, just anyone who uses this gear, where they'll go through their training in a size medium or size large, whatever size sleeve they are, but on the competition day or the last few weeks leading up to competition, they actually size down. So they get one size too tight, so it fits even more snug, so they get more of that bounce effect and they get a little bit more support out of these sleeves. But me, I don't compete. Many of you are not gonna be competing. So if you're gonna be using these, I suggest you use it more for just, you know, preserving your joints for long-term health. I mean, look at C-Bum, very well-known bodybuilder. He uses knee sleeves when he squats. He's not a power lifter. He's not necessarily concerned with how much he, you know, squats, but, you know, it helps you be able to train a little bit more frequently. You know, it preserves your knee a little bit more so you can push harder for longer periods of time, especially if you're going to be working out outdoors. Like me, for example, I have the home gym, which is outside. These definitely come in helpful during the winter because it keeps my joints warmer. I don't have to spend as much time warming up. So now moving up, now we're in the waist section. Probably the most common one that I feel everyone has seen at one point or another, the weightlifting belt. I will like to point out, a weightlifting belt does not help keep your back straight. I hear so many times where people, I tell them, hey, your deadlift, you know, your back is round. It's like, oh, it's because I don't have my belt. I don't care. Just because you have a belt on doesn't mean it's going to keep your back straight. You keep your back straight by contracting the right muscles. This is for intra-abdominal pressure, creating that pressure right here in this abdominal region to help support heavy lifts. Many people, they wear this one throughout the entire lifting session, even during warm-up sets. No. When it comes to a weightlifting belt, use it when you're going right around 80% of your 1 rep max and above. You shouldn't be always having to rely on this. Your body has a natural weightlifting belt already built in. If you learn how to properly breathe and brace, you wouldn't have to rely so much on this. However, if you breathe and brace and use this, well, that's good. It's just gonna make you stronger. This is supportive here. It's meant to support your lifting. This is not the only thing that's doing the lifting itself. I have a separate video just on weightlifting belts alone that goes way more in depth about when, how, and why you should use it. So definitely give that video a look. But just to sum it up, belts used for big compound lifts, squatting, deadlifting, overhead pressing, benching, anything where you know you're going to be pushing some pretty heavy weight, that's where this will come in. But you shouldn't be relying on it all the time. It's just meant to give you a little bit more support in this core region. Now, moving on, I forgot to bring up when we got to the sleeves, the knee area. We also got knee wraps, but I guess it goes hand in hand with the knee sleeves and elbow sleeves. There's knee wraps, which are pretty more common, but there's also elbow wraps, which are not as common. Pretty much the same concept as sleeves. It's compressing your knee, but with these, it's so much longer. I mean, it's an entire, like I think 6 foot length of strap. The end is stretchy, and you can make it as tight as possible as you want on the knee, whereas in the sleeves are meant for more just compression and longevity, maybe adding a couple extra pounds to your lift, maybe 5 to 10 pounds at best. This thing will definitely add some pounds to your squat. Just to put in perspective, my top squat in sleeves is 365, but my top squat in wraps is 415. So that goes to show you it definitely does add a lot of poundage to your squat, but the risk of using these is a lot higher for injury. So you gotta be real careful with how you use these, and you gotta be sure to actually go through the appropriate training leading up to, you know, progressing in the right way. You don't just wanna throw them on right away and instantly start setting PRs. No, you gotta start off the training block right from the very beginning, because with these, there's just so many things that can go wrong. It's just a little too tight, and now it cuts off your circulation. Or maybe you tied it wrong, and now your kneecap got tied into like this certain position. Realistically, these things are meant to hold your kneecap in place, and even when you go down, it makes you feel like you got like a springboard and it's bouncing you out the bottom, because again, this is essentially like you're putting a cast over your knee. But what many people don't realize is this will make it a lot harder to go down and hit depths. So a good cue if you are going to be using knee wraps is no matter how low you think you're getting on a squat, go a little lower, and for sure you'll hit depths, because these things, just from how tight you put it and how thick the layer of wrap is, that's when you will definitely be you know, relying more on that getting that depth, because it's not going to let you easily go down. You got to like really sink it. I will say, just because I personally, when it comes to really maxing out the squat and going for heavy, I'm doing a big strength phase, I do prefer wraps, but they are uncomfortable, they do hurt, it will leave, you know, bruising right here because there's so much friction and so much tightness around. You know, just take that into account. If that's too uncomfortable for you, you don't like it, then just opt for the sleeves. With these though, after you put on one set, since they're so tight and uncomfortable, you have to take them off after every set. It's not like a knee sleeve where you can comfortably leave it on the entire training session. So just want to throw that out there. These support and longevity, maybe 5 to 10 pounds. Support, longevity too, to a certain degree, up to 100 pounds added to your squat. So put that in perspective, but risk of injury and knowing the proper way to train with these, definitely a priority. Now, moving on now to the arms. We already went over the elbow sleeves. Now we're focusing on the wrist. We have wrist wraps. So it's pretty much the same thing as the knee wrap. It's meant for compression and supporting your wrist. You wrap it around. Realistically, the things that you're going to be using this for are going to be for upper body exercises. So like a bench press, again, doesn't matter whether it's flat or incline, or any type of shoulder press. What it's for is to keep your wrist from bending back. Because when we want to bench press, we don't want to be like this. We want to be a little bit more upright. You know, we want our fists stacked up directly over our forearm. We don't want the bar bending our wrist all the way back like this, because, you know, that's how injuries happen. But when it does come to an exercise where you do have to flip your wrists all the way around, so such as, you know, let's just say a push press like this, a split jerk for Olympic lifting, a power clean. Some of us may not have the best wrists, such as myself. I feel a lot of pain when I go all the way back like this. So this is more of like, you know, like a compression, more of like a cast to at least take away some of the pain in the meantime while I work on that mobility. And that's a big thing. No matter what it is that you're going to be using on here, if it's to cover up an injury or some type of pain, that shouldn't be the only thing that you rely on. You should still be addressing what is the underlying causes of those pains, of those injuries, and address them, fix them, so you don't always have to rely on this. This should only be added on as an extra precaution, just to give you a little bit an extra help. It shouldn't be the go-to solution all the time. So again, more compression, keeping your wrists nice and stable. Now, we got wrist straps. So these were wrist wraps because they wrap around your wrist. These are straps. This comes into play when grip becomes the issue for any lift. So these are the kinds that I have, the old school style ones. You wrap it around your wrist and it's got the one end. I know nowadays I think the figure 8 straps are like the big trend, but I like the old school ones right here. You wrap it around the bar and then you grip onto it and then boom, now you can go ahead and hit your workout. So common things that you will use this for are definitely deadlifts or anything where you're moving the bar off the ground. But on top of that, your back workouts, that will definitely come into play. If you're working out pretty heavy on your pull workouts, pull meaning, you know, your biceps, your back, any of those pulling muscles, usually your grip is the first thing to go. I mean, let's be completely honest. How many of you have ever done like some type of pull down or some type of row, some type of deadlift, and you know you could have done more reps? Your back was still strong, your posterior chain was still strong for deadlift, but the first thing that went, the reason why you couldn't get more reps was because your hands started opening up. Your grip was a limiting factor. This will definitely help on, because essentially what you're doing is you're tying yourself to the bar, and then now you're not having to rely as much on your hand strength, your grip strength, because now this thing is essentially tying your hand to the bar. So you're all connected, you're all one, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't be working on your grip strength as a side workout. So what I personally do is I work up to my top set of deadlifts, or I do my back workout and I rely on these during heavy sets, during warm-up sets. Just like the belt, I don't use them during my warm-up sets. I only use it on the heavy sets where I know my grip is gonna take a hit. Again, if you only rely on this, your grip strength is never going to improve. But afterwards, once I hit my top sets and I do my entire back workout, I then go ahead and set aside some time to do some direct grip strength exercises. So I go ahead and do some forearm curls, some forearm extensions like this. And then I go ahead and do some farmer's carry. So I'm holding on weight for time with no straps. You know, I'm working on a lot of things that are very specific to grip strength. So that is one thing you can do. But at the end of the day, if you want to go for it and use these, by all means do it. Just know if you are going to be competing in powerlifting, let's just say, there's some federations that don't allow them. So you know for sure if you're going to be pulling a heavy deadlift, you have to work that grip strength. You can use these as training, but competition day, not allowed. Just want to throw that out there. So there you have it. That pretty much covers up majority of the supportive gear that most people would get, or that's pretty realistic for many people. Other additional things may be like a squat suit, squat briefs, but that's like very, very niche and very specific to if you're a high level power lifter. And it's not even that common nowadays the way it was maybe like in the 90s or early 2000s. All of this is pretty common. You step foot in any gym, you're gonna see plenty of these out in the open. So again, supportive gear, nothing short of compression. It's just meant to give you a little bit extra help with your lifts. Maybe getting those last few reps in. Maybe adding those last 5 or 10 pounds to the bar. Seeing that last bit of progress, really pushing you over the edge to really get those results. But two things that they should definitely not be used for is one, to ego lift. Because if you got bad squat form, the last thing you want to do is throw on some knee wraps and now add even more weight to the bar, because now the risk of injury is just going to skyrocket. Your form is already bad enough. The last thing you need to do is add another 100 pounds and make things worse. And then if you got an injury and you're refusing to rehab it or address the issue for that injury, and you're just throwing on a bunch of these things just to hold your body together, that is a huge issue. Yes, it can cover up a little bit of pain here and there just to get you through the workout, but you shouldn't be ignoring that injury in the first place. You should be addressing, finding out why you're injured in the first place, what's causing the pain, and make sure you do things around there to fix it so it's not a lingering issue. Just want to throw that out there. Hopefully this video was helpful. Comment down below if it was. Comment down below what are some supportive gears that you use that maybe I didn't go over, or what are some other key points that should be highlighted for each individual item that maybe I didn't bring up in this video. Comment down below any other video suggestions you'd like to see me do, whether it be about mindset, motivation, nutrition, diets, workouts, programs, whatever it is. Comment down below. I'd be more than happy to help you all out. Be sure to subscribe not just to my channel, but my girlfriend's channel and our couple's channel so you don't miss on any new videos. Because remember, new videos every week across the board for all 3 channels. For this channel specifically, new videos every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday. So don't miss out. And then Instagram and TikTok, same thing. Be sure to follow me on my accounts, girlfriend's accounts, couple's accounts. I put all the links down in the description below. With that being said, I'll catch y'all next time.